Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing good. You've had a good couple of weeks since we spoke last. Here's the second episode of High Hopes and Harmonies, which is my podcast. I'm Joe, or One Man Boycott. That's my artist name. If you want to check that out, check it out. If not, whatever, it's all good. So I'm excited about this week's episode because at the last minute, to save me, I had to drop out and I have one of my friends in. So we used to play in a band together. He's super talented. He used to run a record label, does his own acoustic, does his own, like acoustic music is in solo music. It's not all fully acoustic, but he also does electronic music. Like I said, ran a label. We've toured together, good times together. So hopefully we'll go over a lot of that stuff, talk about his views on it, because he's kind of moved towards or away from playing music, especially live, and I'm kind of interested to pick his brains over not why, but like that kind of transition of moving away from music, something that I haven't done yet and don't plan on doing anytime soon. So yeah, be an interesting conversation for sure. I'm sure that we'll get distracted as well. I can't remember in this intro if I've said the guy we're talking about is Luke Bond, the man, the myth, the legend. And the band we used to play in is called SevereZero. This is one of my favourite tracks that we did. It's called Grand Larceny. Yeah, let's rip it.
Footsteps out collide, and I'm about to find out if I can cope with detailed psychology. Don't force feed me food, I'll end up choking. No air, no guarantee. I made a getaway to a safe house. There's no security, it never panned out. Only spending money where it matters, and as you're trying to where your life's been shattered. Try and take this away from me, 'cause I commit grand larceny.
Man, I love that track. Honestly, brings back good memories. I've not heard that in a while. Yeah. So with as far as SevereZero goes, we don't make music. Well, you don't know what the future's going to hold, but we don't make music together at the moment. But saying that, online you can find SevereZero. We've put out like 2 big sort of library albums of like catalog albums, if you want. Unreleased stuff, previously unreleased stuff, demos and things like that. But then also you've got the albums you can check out too. So do that if you liked what you heard just then. There's some bangers in there as well. Some of them are pretty much solely down to Luke. It sounds weird calling him Luke, so call him Bondy, and I will do probably throughout this episode. But yeah, so excited about that. I've like in One Man Boycott, I've got a new single coming out, which I'm going to play for you guys at the end of the show. If you fancy, if you like that or whatever, if you listen to the rest of this episode and you like that track, it's a short track. It's up for pre-save, but find me, One Man Boycott, come say hi. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump into this conversation with my mate Bondy. Bondy, welcome to High Hopes and Harmonies. How are you doing?
Hello, mate. Thank you. Yeah, I'm good. I've had a bit of a cold, but I'm all right.
You sound good.
How are you?
Mate, I am buzzing to have you on here. I wanted to get you on here, but not so early in the process of doing the podcast.
Mate, I understand. I was a last minute shout. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be your man. I'll come through.
Did you know what? Do you know what it is? It's the fact that I knew that I could rely on you. 12. Is it 12th hour?
Yeah,
is that right?
I think no, 11th hour. Isn't it?
11th hour. There you go. 12 hours
12
too late.
Hours, like, literally too late, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we had a postponement, not a cancellation, but left us in the lurch a little bit. So yeah, I'm really grateful for you being able to do this. Give me your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And talk to us about your musical journey.
Well, you've been on the ride for half of it.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, I wanted to start in a way that I didn't start last time, which is literally take us back right to the beginning of, like, could be when you're an absolute kid, absolute child. Let everyone know, or talk to me about how you started in music. Where was that spark? Where did it come from growing up? Was it your parents that got you into it? Was it bands that you saw, friends? What was it?
Yeah, well, my old man plays a guitar, and so I grew up with a guitar in the house. And he's a good blues guitarist and has played, like as long as I can remember, Dad's played the guitar. He inherited a guitar from his late brother, which I now have in the office behind me, which is awesome. And yeah, Dad still plays a lot now. But so yeah, growing up with a guitar in the house, I obviously kind of picked it up and played it, and it was never like, I was never dissuaded from doing that. It was never like, don't touch my guitar or don't play that. It was always encouraged to pick it up and play it, and which was great. And there was a little nylon acoustic in the house as well, which was I think mum and dad's wedding gift from somebody or something like that.
Yeah.
Which my sister has now. And so I'd play that and whatever. And when I was about 5, I got given a Commodore 64. Nice. And then with that, there was this computer music thing that you could get for it, and there was an actually overlay that went on top of the keyboard. So it was like a little keyboard, like piano keyboard that went on top of the Commodore 64. So you could, you load it up and play.
Mate, just to jump in there, just in case anyone's too young when they're listening, a Commodore 64 is like a super early computer, right?
I mean, super early is getting a little bit hard. I know what you're doing.
Yeah, it is like...
What he's doing, he's trying to make it sound like I'm ancient. I'm fairly old.
Well,
but anyway, yeah, it's an old computer. It's a really old computer. And, but yeah, I didn't really know how that worked, that thing. And until I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. And then I realized you could actually like sequence music on it. So I started sequencing music on my Commodore, which was it had a great chip, the Commodore. You could get some great sounds out of it. We actually used that Commodore, didn't we, on SevereZero much later on. you know, and to get some sounds out of it, which was really fun. But yeah, so just grew up playing the guitar, you know, started a band at school.
What was the band's name? Can you remember?
Station.
Station.
There was 5 of us. Yeah,
Please tell me that was because of Bill and Ted.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know me
great.
too well. Yeah. And yeah, we went and did some recording. Well, we recorded with a friend of mine who passed away now, but probably nearly 10 years ago, Andy Esau, who was always super encouraging of me learning how to record my own music. But he recorded like our first song, and then he didn't really have the gear at the time, so he was like, "Oh, you have, you know, go and do a recording." So we went into Bideford and recorded at Bideford. It was Bideford Market. It was called Frog Hollow Studio, I think.
Bideford's a town close to the village where you grew up, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we recorded in the tiny little studio there, and it was basically just live recording, and then we laid the vocals down after, and it was terrible, and I've still got it somewhere, and it is
oh, mate, I wish you would have sent it to me,
it's
man.
not just a horrible recording, but the song, I mean, we wrote all our own songs. I mean, we were probably about 11, 12 years, no, probably a bit older than that, 13 years old, something like that. It's pretty terrible, but we did that. And then, yeah, I was playing guitar and singing, sort of backing vocals for that. And then a bit later on, you know, as I was sort of getting into sort of heavier stuff, like some punk rock and metal and stuff at the time.
Do you remember what the first band you thought, that's for me? This is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe not the first band that heavy. I reckon some of the early No Effect stuff, and then Propagandy, the early Propagandy albums. So that's probably early 90s, probably like 90. No, it's probably mid 90s, 95, 96, maybe 97.
Nice.
I'll have a look at that in a minute. I can't remember the dates. But I got into all that stuff and wanted to start a punk band, and started a band called Wenchface on guitar. But the drummer at the time was going out with my sister, and then that went wrong, and then he didn't want to do it anymore. So I ended up, but everyone else did, so I ended up just being like, well, I'll play drums. So I took over the drums on that.
Had you ever played drums before that point? And Wenchface was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, only sort of messing around, never a full drum kit. And then I borrowed, there was a guy up the road called Mark Corner who I used to play football with. He was an awesome bloke, really nice chap. And he had a drum kit and was like, look, I'll lend you my drum kit, because I didn't have a kit. He was like, I'll lend you my drum kit if you teach me to play drums. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. But then obviously I was young, didn't have a car or anything. I think I was about, at this point, 17. We had our very first Wenchface practice actually on New Year's Eve 1999.
No way, dude.
Yeah. So then I was going up, so when we were rehearsing, then I would like go up to Mark's house on my skateboard at the top of the village, and then bit at a time bring all the drums down on the skateboard to the village hall in about 5 trips.
No way.
Yeah, to rehearse. So then, so Wenchface kind of ran for probably about, I'm not sure what it was, probably about 5 or 6 years, something like that.
Yeah.
We had a couple of lineup changes over the years, but it was mainly, I stayed on drums the whole time, and we had
shows were cool, man.
Obviously.
The shows were like proper punk shows, man.
Yeah, they were pretty good. Yeah, I mean, we never really got out and about that much. It was mainly sort of local. We went, I think the furthest we ever probably went with Wenchface was, I think we played in Taunton, lofty heights.
So
of
Southwest,
Taunton,
yeah.
Southwest, really. Yeah, I don't remember playing anywhere else with Wenchface anyway. But that was quite fun. And then, don't know, kind of things changed, and it's not what we really wanted to do. So. And then one of the, Andy left the band, the bass player, who was a brilliant bass player. And we sort of decided that, all right, it's time to do something else. So I started SevereZero.
Yeah. And now, so whereabouts in that change between Wenchface and SevereZero did you start the studio?
Oh, right, yeah. So I've just realised that I've just rambled. The question was, how did I get started in music? And I've literally just gone full history.
Mate, it's absolutely fine, because it's interesting to hear what the journey's been getting up to the point of like, well, for me, the point where I become part of your journey.
So actually, it's a good point. So to sort of backtrack a little bit, Andy Esau, this guy, he he was really into recording, and in fact, I've still got a microphone that he gave me, which is probably still one of my best microphones. That AT4040 I've got.
Oh, mate, yes,
He
a
gave
classic.
me that, yeah. So we did the recording station, whatever, and then before Wenchface, I kind of started deciding, I want to record my own stuff. So I was recording a load of acoustic stuff alongside that, starting electronica, doing all that kind of stuff.
So-
I was using trackers on an old Pentium 233.
Isn't that where you were like recording the acoustic stuff, which like, luckily I've got some of, and you had to, wasn't it, you were recording drums and you had to like, it wouldn't handle it. So you had to
recording later. That's funny. Yeah. No, so I was recording on this Pentium 233 thing, doing, you could barely do anything on it. It was like trackers, like you couldn't record audio in, you'd have to record a sample, and the samples had to be under 512 kilobytes to load them in.
No way.
So you had to be really lean. I don't think I've got any of that music now. But then, I started recording acoustic stuff on this little Fostex 4-track that Dad had, tape recorder.
Mm-hmm.
And then he upgraded it to a little Tascam one later that was good. And so I was doing that, and then sort of decided I really liked recording, and Andy helped me out with that and sort of taught me a few things about. He had a big mixing console that he sort of lent me a few times to like learn how to use and stuff. And then basically, so went to college, did some stuff, music, decided I wanted to start a studio. So Dad was like, look, we can probably find a place and kit it out a bit, call in a few favors. Like, Dad was a builder,
because
so,
you
knew people.
Just to touch on what I mentioned earlier, like where you're talking about geographically is this tiny little village in the middle of Devon, right?
Yeah,
so
tiny.
Like, having to find somewhere to build that, kind of, you can look at it in two different ways. It's lucky that you were there so you could find the person that you did find.
Yeah.
And also kind of unlucky in a way because it limited your options, I guess.
Yeah. But so we ended up finding this place. Charlie gave us this barn that was a bit knackered, but we converted it. And it was never like a high quality finish or anything, the studio, but it was functional. We had the live room and a little control room. And then I think I was 21 when we started that. So sort of got that up and running and really ran that until I was probably about 20, 28, something like that.
We did some good recordings there. Like my previous bands. My previous bands came to record with you, and you're kind of like a extra member for a while, isn't that?
Yeah.
Oh no, we met at college, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then that kind of strengthened things, as it like you got us into recording.
Well, I was working there when I met you, I think.
Yeah, because you're a lot older than me.
Yeah, exactly. So
when we started, when you started SevereZero, and you were saying like you used that studio as a base for SevereZero, was it when you left or stopped Wenchface and started SevereZero? Was it something that you went, I want to have these original members, or I want to completely find new people to play with, or I want to do it on my own and see who's interested? What was that kind of thought process?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a change of direction, really. Just like creatively, I was in a bit of a different place, and me and Gelb sort of wanted to do sort of maybe slightly more commercial sounding stuff.
Yeah, Gelb the guitarist.
And I sort of wanted to sing and, sing the stuff I was writing, rather than just play drums to it. So I started that on the bass and vocals. But yeah, I just remembered you were saying as well earlier about when I started recording Wenchface stuff. I only had a Pentium 800 at the time, so I couldn't record all the tracks at once. I had to group all the drums and record them. So I think I had 3 drum tracks, a kick and a snare, and then everything else. But my machine could only run the 4 audio tracks at a time. So I'd have to like mix them, bounce that to a stereo track, and then record the bass, and then a guitar, maybe 2 guitars, then bounce all that, and then record, just keep bouncing. Literally, it was like 4-track tape. It was funny. But yeah, so...
Mate, they sound good as well.
Well, some of them are okay, yeah.
Yeah, they sound like within keeping with what that band... It's like punk band, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Heavy and messy at times.
End of the way forward, mate.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is that
cracking.
track?
Yeah, so
Is that track I'm thinking of?
that's not my favourite one. No, Age of the Ageless, I think
Age
you're
of the
thinking
Ageless, that's it, dude.
Yeah.
And, we can't
Yeah,
not
so-
mention Debbie's World, but...
Yeah, classic. Yeah, but so no, with SevereZero, just sort of, a bit more commercial sounding stuff, and it was a bit of a departure from what we'd done, and a bit easier to play, and arguably a little bit more fun to play, because you weren't having to concentrate quite so hard on all the silly time signatures and stuff.
Yeah.
Although that's really fun, it sometimes would take away a little bit, because we were quite young as well. Like, we actually wanted to go and enjoy ourselves a bit more. Although, there's a lot of fun in doing that, obviously. But, we just wanted to change direction. And then obviously did that for quite a while, me, Gelb and Frank on drums. And then, Gelb decided to leave the band and go and be a pilot, which he did.
What was
so I moved
weird
over to
about
guitar
that?
And you came in.
Yeah, what I found weird about that was that it was literally the day that I turned up to practice, because it was you on bass and vocals, Gelb on guitar and screaming as such, really, and then Frank on drums. And then you guys were asking me to come in and play bass while you both played guitars. And I turned up to the first rehearsal, and everyone loaded their stuff in except for Gelb. And Gelb was like, all right. And then he said to you guys that he was leaving. I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. So I just went and sat in the control room while you guys spoke it out. It was really awkward for me, but how did that feel to you, being like, oh, we're expanding the band. We'd done an album at this point. We're kind of expanding and trying to change a thing. You had the German tour booked. And then all of a sudden that happens and it's completely up in the air. Like what can you remember how you felt, like what was going through your head? Yeah,
it's one of those things, isn't it? Like in any band, I reckon most bands probably have to deal with that at some point, somebody leaving that you don't want to leave. Obviously me and Gelb have been in bands together at this point for probably nearly 10 years or something. Probably not quite that. So it was quite a big change. But, obviously it was sad it was like an end of an era, but at the same time, who are we to get in the way of someone sort of following their dreams, and, have to support that. And he's done brilliantly well. I'm really proud of his achievements. So, and he still plays a lot of music, which is great. He plays in a big jazz band out in Australia, and it's great. So he still does music. So it wasn't the end of his musical journey. But so it was massive change. But at the same time, I think he picked his moment really well, because obviously he sort of knew we were good mates and close, and you're really musical.
I guess he was thinking as well.
I think he knew I wanted to move over to guitar, so
and it wasn't gonna I think a part of his timing was thinking, if he was to leave before I was around, potentially it destroys the band for everyone. Whereas with me coming in means, I think he even said it on that night. It's like, it's okay, you play guitar, he'll play bass, you can carry on.
I mean, didn't we only have 2 months before the tour? I'm pretty sure it was it a month?
Yeah, I think we went middle of February, beginning of February. And I joined officially because I remember we went back to your house and I was like, guys, if you want to carry on, I'm here for it. But I can't help you make that decision. I can't be part of that. And you got in touch with me and said, yeah, we're going to do it. It was the 5th of January, 2009.
No way. Didn't we even write a couple of new songs before we went?
Yeah, it was 3, was it? Was it Overshadowed, Paper Chain?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's the other one? There's another one. We'll remember in a minute. Oh, Failsafe? No.
It was.
That was later. That was later, wasn't it?
You sure?
No, I'm not sure, no. There is 3 that all sound very similar recording, innit?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Because I went and bought that 5150, didn't I? Remember? Sold my bass stuff.
Van Halen. No, was it Van Halen?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was original Man's one, wasn't it? That was awesome. Biggest mistake I ever made selling that. I regret that still. Yeah.
It's all good, dude.
It's a little lesson to learn, and it's just sometimes I know sometimes you've got to sell your kit to buy other kit. It's just, you know, we got that Black Star thing, didn't we? And I had to sell it to buy that. But
Yeah.
I do miss that amp. It was great. The cab was brilliant.
Mate, when
Yeah.
I guess is a good time to bring this in, because we've covered both of the things leading up to this, but how do you, because obviously I'm doing a lot of this with Boycott right now, but how did you find being the band and also having to put your producer hat on, like, so you're writing and then we flesh the idea out and then it's down to you to produce it, almost record it and get it ready to release and all the rest of that kind of stuff? How do you find that pressure, I guess, of it all being in house and it's your project as well, so you're like really close to it? Like,
honestly, I always really liked that, probably because I liked having the control over, this is how it's going to sound at the end, and it's not some guy in another studio who I don't know, who I don't trust if he hears things the way I do. And ultimately, you know, I think as a band we were all quite in tune with what we wanted the end result to be. I think lots of bands are, some bands aren't quite so much, but I think we always had the same ideas. So I think that allowed you guys and Gail before you to sort of trust me with it, to be able to say, well, I think, you know, you knew that I knew what you wanted as well as what I wanted. And there's always those decisions you got to make when you're mixing stuff, and that might not sit brilliantly with everybody. I remember there was once, I think it was only one time we ever had a real disagreement about something, and it was a track. I don't know I can't remember what it's called, but we never liked the chorus, and I went in and just chopped it and completely changed the chorus. And it was always a bit like, oh, I'm not sure. And in the end, I think everyone agreed it was better, but it was such a big change. And I think for some reason I was up there late. I was sort of semi-living there, I think, at the time in the studio. So it was like I was up there and I was just working on stuff. I think that's the only time that ever happened. But
I think part of that, though,
I quite enjoyed it
as well, is like having, if you change it, if you write a song and you've got it and you're kind of used to it, and then you change it so much it feels jarring, so it's kind of hard to hear it for the first time. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same, as it doesn't feel the same if it is. I can't actually remember the specific time you're talking about, to be honest, but I mean, I'll take it for it.
I'll tell you what, the only other thing about doing that, I suppose, and if I could have changed something, like, and we did start doing this later on, but we would often take the approach of, we'd write a track, because we had the studio, we'd write something and record it.
Yeah.
And I think we ended up putting together, at one point 10 tracks, and they all sounded so different. No matter how hard you try and make stuff sound the same, it can be quite difficult to do that over different times recording.
Yeah.
Mic placements will be a bit different, the guitar sounds changed a bit, or it's just things change. But then later on, I think we sort of did them more as sets. We ended up saying, like, or we put a lot more effort into making sure things didn't change in the time that we went away.
Yeah. Did you think
I think that was maybe part of a challenge.
Do you think we ever wrote songs that we shouldn't have recorded? We should have just gone, that's a song, but it's not quite up to scratch.
No, I'm glad we did that, because looking back now, that is a really nice thing to listen to. Those ideas that didn't quite work, but they didn't quite work, but we still recorded them fully and sound, we did the best we could with them. And actually, I thought we learnt a lot from doing that. You record something and you try and put your vocals in it, and you try and change the way you're singing something, or you work with a melody and reshift it and redo the guitars, redo things, and then because you're trying to get it right, and then in the end just to realize that, I don't think that's good enough.
Yeah.
I don't think any amount of chopping it is going to make it good enough we had quite a high standard for ourselves, as most bands do. But, and I think we sometimes, I listen to some of those old things and I think, like Overshadowed, you mentioned, like for some reason we cut that from the album. It's like, why did you cut that from the album? It's a great track.
Yeah. They always did well live as well.
Yeah, we were always so critical of our own stuff, and I think sometimes, well, like, I was just saying to you before we started, just sometimes just finishing stuff is a key. Just finish it. Just finish a thing, get it out the door, let people, let your friends tell you if they think it's any good or not, because if you've enjoyed making it, that's great, and put it out there. But
dude, that's exactly what the change in my kind of philosophy has been this year. Obviously I run a one man boycott Patreon, but what I'm doing there is writing and finishing songs and finishing them to like 90% of what they would be of a release, and then putting that to my patrons, and then we choose which ones are going to get done properly, and then put out. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. You're not second guessing your writing, you're not second guessing the sounds or anything that you're doing. You're just making music, finishing it, putting it out to like your inner circle, and then choose the best ones of those and put and you know, show other people as a kind of, hey, I'm doing something kind of cool over here.
I always say, like, how many albums really have you got where every single track gets you as pumped? I think there's very few.
Yeah.
There's the odd one or two, right?
But that's
and
okay.
Actually, you can argue that there's the odd one. Yeah, exactly. It is okay. There's the odd one or two that when you first got it, there was probably loads of skips. But over time, as you start to, you know, some of those tracks turn nostalgic. And then all of a sudden, like, you find new things in those songs that, or, you know, I don't know, a moment in time that reminds you of something, and you end up liking those ones a lot more. But it's absolutely fine to, like, every track you write can't be a banger. And actually, if you had an album where every single track hit the same, I don't know if it would work.
Yeah, does it hit right? Because it's the same as when you write a song. If there's no dynamics in the song,
yeah, it's true.
It's boring, isn't it? It's just boring to listen to. It's like
110 all the time.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You need the little
get to track 7
before the storm, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
but then equally, you know, you always write your songs. You always write all your songs wanting it to be the best one you've ever made.
Yeah, sure.
But it's not always possible, is it?
No, and also, like, when you're coming from, I don't think you can have the same philosophy of writing a song when every song you write isn't going to be the same song, if you know what I mean. It's not going to be the same feeling of song. Like, it might be a slower version, it might be a slower song or a quieter song, or a really heavy or a really fast song, or like a heartfelt song or a jokey song. Like, any of those things, you can't keep that consistent, and just, that would be so shit if that's what people did. It's part of being a musician or an artist that writes music, is you're trying to put across an emotion at that time, and it's different with almost sometimes it's different with every section of a song, but it's different within an album for sure. And if you haven't got that, where's the dynamics?
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I said dynamics weird then. I'm just gonna look at it and we'll move on.
Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to talk to you before we move on from SevereZero. I wanted to talk to you, and actually there was something that I wanted to say a minute ago. Is you said about learning a lot. I feel like I learned a lot playing in SevereZero, and a lot of that comes down to working with you specifically, because we did work a lot together with like what I was thinking and what you knew. So you have more knowledge than me, but I was like coming from a different place, and it kind of married up really well, where I could bring
I learned a lot from you when you joined the band, because I think I'd been, up until that point, I think I've been so focused on making sure that, like, we were really tight, and before you joined with Gelb, we were really tight, and I think I'd worked so hard on just making sure we were tight that I sort of got to the point where I forgot that you should go and enjoy yourself and should perform. Yeah. And when you joined the band, there was times where, like, we maybe sacrificed some of the, like, ultra tightness for enjoyment. And I came away from the gigs really enjoying those gigs, and looking back at those things, did we hit every single note perfectly? Maybe not. 98%.
It's live music,
and I'll take it.
Exactly, I remember a couple of times, like, I remember when we first got together as a band before we went to Germany, one of the first things that I was saying to you guys is, like, you guys are so good live, it's like putting a CD on. And that's not a slight, but where I was coming from, which is from playing in a pop punk band where I would miss every note, sing flat all the time, but everyone was having the fucking time of their lives. And I was saying that I wanted to try and make it 50-50, where we're playing well, we're fucking tight, but it's fucking fun as well.
The funny thing about that is, the more you do that and have fun with it, the more you end up learning how to still play quite tight while doing that.
Yeah, dude.
Because it's practice, isn't it? It just takes practice. We always used to call it just match fitness, wasn't it?
Match fit, yeah.
The
Got to be match
fitness
fit.
is actually singing and playing whilst going and having fun, and remembering why you do it. You still say that now, like remember, like why you did it, it.
Dude, there's two things I want to bring up with that before I talk to you about touring is, I remember that we implemented something before we played, which was, I just moved my mic, remember to enjoy yourselves. Like, we've done the hard work. It's so like backstage before we went on stage and started performing, it was like, you've done all the work. You're as practiced as you're going to be right now. So just remember to enjoy this moment. And I wrote that into a song. It's this is the first time I remember to enjoy every part of the process. Like that is specific reference to what we used to say in SevereZero before going on. And the second thing was, in light of what I've just said about the 50-50 split, you fast forward to when we played that it was like a open air festival. It wasn't, I can't remember what it was called. It was an open air festival.
In Germany.
Yeah. And I remember
on the car park.
Yeah, that was it. And we had to play an encore. We came off and one fine day we're like, you have to go back on. Yeah. So we just were like, we've got no more songs. We just played another song. And I remember in the breakdown of that song, I just threw my bass across the stage and jumped into the crowd. And then Bondi was like, well, I'm having some of that, dropped his guitar and jumped into the crowd. And like the song wasn't being played. It was just the little bits of backing that we had and Frank going nuts on the drums and you and me were in the crowd. So that's like almost the other end of the spectrum. The performance is brilliant, but there's no one performing the song. Like the song isn't a thing. I kept my
guitar for a little longer than you kept your bass. But
but it wasn't like you didn't play out the song and then jump. It was yeah. But that I think that's quite an important thing to talk about because there is like so many people just want it to be perfect, and it's like, man, it's live music. You've got to put on a show.
I think it reminds me of probably one of our bigger gigs. It was at Islington Academy.
Yeah,
and we were really psyched up. I think it was.
That was with
Superkaleider we were supporting, or Bouncing Souls, I can't remember which one. It was one of those two.
Yeah.
And I remember we were really buzzed up to play it and everything. And we had that little intro that sort of played before we went on, and we were all ready, and we had our little wireless bugs and everything. And someone, I still don't know if it is we fucked up or someone fucked about with our kit, or maybe someone kicked something and unplugged something, I don't know, but ended up basically like I had your bug and you had my bug. So I was coming out through your bass amp and you were coming out through my guitar. So when we went to start, it was like we could have let that really affect our performance and our show, like a little mistake, like things go wrong. But instead, I don't know how we did it, but we sort of managed to turn it in our favor, and we were just laughing about it. And actually, that was probably the best outcome, because if you think too much about that kind of thing, you could make you think, oh, we really fucked that up. And it was like, but it's like, you know what? Shit happens. You just have to get on with it.
It's life.
You do just have to get on with it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think actually the me from 5 years before that probably would have let that really affect me, and I would have then just been dwelling on that, if you like, in inverted commas, that mistake we made. Whereas actually I look back on that now and laugh about that and think that was really funny that we somehow still managed, like within the intro part of the song, figured out what was wrong, threw the bugs to each other. I can't remember what we did. I think I got a cable. Maybe Martin grabbed a cable and was like, plugged it in, we fixed it, and it was like, carry on.
Yeah. And we still killed that show.
Like, actually, I kind of think that things go wrong in real life, especially in music. Just have to like cope with it. Enjoy that as well, because you'll look back on it.
Yeah, funny, for sure, dude. For sure. Like, we're talking about live music here, and I would like to jump in to get your point, because I've never really broken down with you in like personal conversations how you see touring and how you felt about touring, and like what I said before, and this is something that I'm going to try and point out to everyone I speak to, is sprinkle this in because I'm sure you enjoyed it, but I don't want to just hear the glamorous stuff. They're like, oh, it's so fucking this, that, and the other. Like, be real with it. Like, talk to me about touring, your experience of touring, and don't leave out the bad bits is what I'm getting at.
I think it depends what you're looking for, I think, on tour as to how you decide to enjoy it. Because I think for the most part, I think when I was younger, I really enjoyed it. And like all aspects of it. I always found the vocal health stressful.
Yeah.
Like, no matter where we went, whatever age I was, that was stressful. Because I probably didn't have very good technique, and I was trying to put a lot of heat in my voice, and I'd end up just hurting myself and having to practice vocal rest all the time. And just that, essentially, the fun bit is chatting to your mates. Actually between shows, driving places, that's,
seeing new places, meeting people,
games, playing the COD band pun game.
Yeah.
Fish pun band game.
Fish.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the ones I used to pick.
Well,
I hadn't a clue.
Oh no,
Yeah,
dude! What? Who was it, and where was it? Where? Shrimp Biscuit and Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yellow Carp.
See, that
was another
that's
one.
The fun bit at all. Yellow Carp, that's amazing. No, but I am going back to your point. It's like I did enjoy most of touring, but there's times I think I got really tired, and it's difficult there's always, when you go to places, there's this expectation that, you're going to go out and have a drink with everyone and party with people. And it's like,
mate, Boston was the worst for that. Boston was surely the worst for that.
Oh, it was, yeah.
And that tour, it felt like every night everyone was like, oh, these guys are Brits, they want to drink, they go to party. Yeah. And you and me are pushing our vocals quite a lot, because I remember I sing quite high anyway, you're putting all that heat in, and I have to sing the highest harmonies on there, so we're both pushing it, and then everyone wants us to get absolutely slaughtered after every show and take us out and show us a good time and stuff. And we went over the top a couple of times, when I put the tequila in the water. That was a bad moment.
You stitched me right up.
It's a bad moment.
And that's the time when there's that photo of me on the floor holding my groin and you with a baseball bat. It's soft baseball bat.
If I can find that, I'll put that up on the screen.
Yeah, that's a shocker, that one. But no, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Generally speaking, there's those times as well on tour when you go to a place, you've travelled for 6 hours and there's no one there, and you play a gig to basically no one, or the other bands. That used to really get me down. But
it's
then you just have to,
indeed.
Yeah, it's demoralising. But then what you got to do is be like, all right, well, we've, I think the worst one that we had like that was Berlin.
Berlin, yeah.
Berlin.
We did the radio beforehand and everything. We were stoked for it, pumped up.
Yeah.
Came in, it's I don't think even
and they didn't even come.
No.
Shocker. Oh, I can't wait. We'll be there later, guys. Great. See you later.
And because of that, we had an 11-hour or an 8-hour drive the day after.
It was so far, wasn't it? Yeah, it was But
then the next day was killer. They made up for it.
Yeah. So, you're always going to get that though, aren't you? That was the tough bits. And then also, actually, even though you're just playing to other bands, we always had that sense of duty, didn't we? That we've still got to go and let's still play. Let's go and do our best, because that's what we do.
Yeah. There's people in it.
And actually,
it's respectful.
And then in a way, and you can have a bit of fun with it. It's I think we probably had a bit more banter with people on the real shallow ones.
Yeah.
It's there's no one there. It's you can't wade into anything.
Yeah.
You can basically paddling. But that was the tough ones.
So how did you
see somewhere new, don't you? That's see the positives out of it.
Something that I love about it is seeing new places and meeting people that you've never met before, and just having these either super in-depth conversations or just like passing conversations that you're never gonna have again. It's just like a moment in time. I love that.
What was it Frank used to say? I was like, live rehearsal. It's just a live rehearsal then.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, we
actually.
went to practice in Berlin once.
Yeah. Yeah, we drove for 11 hours for a band practice. Yeah.
Why would you do that? Are you mental? But also, dude, that was on the first tour as well, and that was one of my favorite memories about that tour, was realizing as we were walking down the street those huge posters. That was cool. And then Cologne was a killer gig.
Oh, that was brilliant, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was one of those gigs that was really, really good, because we weren't expecting it to be good.
Yeah.
We were thinking, oh, it's going to, probably not going to be anyone there. We'd never heard of the other band, although Bjorn was positive. No, they are big. They're a big band.
Yeah.
All right.
They're out doing bits in LA now, I think. Moved there thinking that...
What were they called?
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say it. I know what they're called. I'm not saying it.
Oh, I can't remember what they're called. Oh, I remember now. Yeah. I remember, yeah. But anyway, I don't know, yeah.
So with the vocal health on tour, did you ever get a handle on it to deal with it? Or did you ever get it settled in? Did you always struggle with it, or did you get like a maintenance thing settled in? It's like, right, we're going on tour. This is what I have to do leading up. This is what I have to do whilst I'm on tour.
I did, but there's other factors, isn't there? So I ended up using that Melissa Cross. Well, we all did in the end, didn't we? The Melissa Cross warm up.
Sworn by it ever since.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I've done it today.
It really helped me. Have you?
Yep.
I remember you used to say to me we should do it before radio stuff, just because if you're talking, get yourself in good vocal health. But I so that helped a lot, and that became actually that routine before a gig. If we were a bit nervous or overexcited, that would just settle you down and level you out a bit. You do this warm up, this vocal thing. What did it take? Like 10 minutes?
15, yeah.
Something, maybe 10 minutes. And so that would be, and sometimes it would just, I remember we did it in all sorts of places, sat in a car, you find a little back room somewhere quiet, or there's nowhere, and we had to get a couple of pillows sort of around us and try and, because else people are like, what's going on back there? So
is that a monkey back there?
Noises and stuff. So that really helped. But for me, dude, it was more, and it can't just be me that dealt with this, but if we were going off and doing a run of 3 or 4 gigs or whatever, I'd just be like, don't get ill. Please don't get ill. Yeah. And then like, you're fine. And then 2 days before you go, you get a cold or you're ill. And it's like, for fuck's sake, I just wanted to go and enjoy this.
Yeah. I wanted to give my best.
Yeah. Because let's be honest, we weren't a professional band. Like at one point you could argue there was moments where we were nearly a semi-professional band, but not really. We never really earned any money. Some of the, I said this to someone the other week when we were talking about it. It's like, I think we had 2 tours that paid for themselves. It's like, that is a fucking success.
That's a win. Yeah.
Because it's hard. Like, I remember other tours, like, it just cost us a fortune. But you're going and doing it because that's what you want to do because you enjoyed it. So, like, it's almost like that was our little breaks, little holiday from work and stuff. And then it was like, well, I'm ill for it now. So that's going to be stressful.
Yeah.
I used to find that
it's
really
just
difficult.
Added stress. When you're sick, it's added stress, which then makes you tense up more, which makes you sing worse. It's all just true. A cyclical thing. It's horrible. And dude, how many times have we said to each other when we're talking before a gig or whatever, we're like, one of us will realize what we're doing and be like, dude, lower your voice. Yeah. Because when you're talking over music and you're talking like people. This all the time, just so that it destroys your voice before you play. Yeah. You just, I've been talking too much, damn it.
And actually, I remember as well, sort of making quite a conscious effort when we were away to, like, obviously you can have a drink, but like trying to be careful with it and be like, do you know what? We got this gig tomorrow. Just don't.
I think it's part of that professional attitude.
Yeah.
You have to at some point just realize that being on tour, unless you're that kind of band, which, because we're singers, do you know what I mean? Like, we're not shouting the vocal. We're not punk. We're not like, all the rest of that kind of vocal where you can get away with drinking because it doesn't matter if your voice goes. Like, we need to be able to perform. And if
and also, I think we would look at our vocal performances more than I know we would, because we rely on each other. Right? When you're singing harmonies for a lot of the time, like if one of us is out, you both sound bad. You both sound bad. You know, so we kind of had to rely on each other to be like, well, we both need to hit these notes. You know.
Yeah, and it's that responsibility between each other as well.
I do. Do you know what? Like the bit I think I miss from it, I'd say, isn't really the live gigs. There's bits of that I miss, but not really. It's the rehearsals when we would like be singing something. You look over each other and you're sort of having to work out because you're still trying to do the singing. Like work out what you're trying to communicate. You know, and I miss that kind of because that was great fun and that you build your friendships that way.
Either.
No,
that's that, and that's it.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we'd ever write SevereZero again? Don't say what I think you're going to say, because you're going to mention that your voice isn't great at the moment.
No, it's not. I've got a real problem with my voice.
That's temporary. Right, so...
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. But I don't see why we couldn't write something again. I'm just not really in the place to be writing that sort of music. I think for me, the problem would be coming up with I don't think I'd struggle with coming up with guitar ideas. I think it's more like song content.
Yeah.
It's like coming up with something that still matches what we want to, the sound of the music. I don't know.
We did a cool little track. Was it a couple of years ago now?
I don't remember.
Do you remember that like punky track? I was going to do a verse and...
Was it the one that I did that sounded like Pulley?
Well, I think it sounds like Sum 41.
Right.
But
I don't remember.
I sent it back to you and said, I've left the second verse out. And then a couple of minutes later, I'd written a second verse in my head. I was like, fuck, I got to put this down. Put it down and send it back. Yeah, I do. That's sick.
You have to remind me of it, dude. It must have been more than 2 years ago.
Got it. I really want to play it. I don't know. I'll find out. I'll see if I can find it, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm kind of going through, I've written down these notes that are kind of like a history of Luke Bond. So it feels quite linear. But I'm going to ask you one more question about SevereZero, and then I want to kind of move on to your kind of electronic history, but also what you did with the record label and like Superkaleider and stuff.
Yeah.
The question is about SevereZero. Throughout the life, I'm talking before, like from the beginning until the end, is there anything that like you would change, or like that you think could have been different or better or worse, or like, you know what I'm trying to say? Just like, is there anything you go, that, you know what I mean?
I guess, I think that we probably should have I think if I could change anything, I think it was when we went through that phase of deciding that we needed to have a manager. And I think that knocked all the momentum out of us. Like, we were a bit unlucky with who we ended up with our manager, I guess, because they had other things on and whatever. And we ended up putting a lot of kind of our jobs onto that person who ended up not doing them. Whereas if we hadn't done that, we probably would have kept a bit of momentum. And not that, I don't know if it would have gone any further or not. It's not really the point. I think the point is it knocked the stuffing out of us a bit, because we sort of gave somebody responsibility and that we thought, and would tell us, oh yeah, doing this, doing that, I'm doing all these things for you. And then they weren't. And it was like, we could have just kept doing what we were doing, and we didn't mind doing it.
Yeah.
We had a pattern, didn't we? I did some stuff, you did some stuff. We had responsibilities in the band. Frank did stuff. So we sort of knew what our jobs were. And if there's anything I regret, it was probably that, because I feel that you know, what we might have done is just got a few. Yeah, the argument there is that person got us a few pretty good gigs, which I still look back on and think they were the best gigs we did. But it was the other side of it. It was like, you know, trying to push the band forwards and trying to get us in front of the right people. Like all of that stopped. And
yeah,
but you know,
it's like the way that
I wouldn't say I regret anything so much. Just kind of how it panned out, and you know.
Yeah, I was super hesitant to use the word regret. But
what about you?
Because I don't think it is that. I agree with you. I think it's that because what we did is, this just came into my head. We gave him all the responsibility and dropped all of ours.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
We just stopped. We were like, got a manager now. Cheers in. Wrong thing to do. If you're listening to this and you're in a band and you're an artist and you're getting a manager, got a manager, or someone's approached you and you do end up going with them, just remember that your job doesn't stop there. You should do more because now you've got the responsibility of making sure that guy's doing everything they're saying they're doing and everything you need them to be doing. You probably don't need a manager anyway up to a certain point, but if you do go down there, that's all I would say. Like, we were doing so much to be able to get that person interested in the first place. And then we just went, oh, yeah, good. Now we can stop.
Yeah.
And we did, if you think about it, if you're honest about it, we did nothing after that point.
No, it's literally like we were in a hurdles race and we absolutely bombed it up to the first one, cleared it perfectly, and then just stopped.
Yeah, stood still, lit a cigarette.
I'll let those other guys go do it.
Yeah.
You finish it, lads. I'll just sit here.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that bad, but you know, that's how it panned out, isn't it?
Yeah. So, dude, tell me, whilst I try and look for this track that we did. Actually, dude, should we play? I've already played Grand Larceny. Should we play? You picked out Despite the Promises, didn't you?
Yeah, I just think that sums up that little EP really well.
So,
that was a good one. I'm really proud of that little EP.
Mini album, 7 tracks.
Yeah. It's an EP, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Okay, dude, I'll tell you what, why don't you intro this and I'll try and be...
What else is on it?
I'll try and... It's Despite the Promises, in reverse, Grand Larceny.
Grand Larceny.
You got it. Defenses. Hideouts are killer.
Hideouts are good. Never Get Out Alive is great as well. No, Despite the Promises, I like the recording.
Okay.
So, do you want me to intro it, do you?
Yeah, intro it. What's it about?
I can't remember.
I knew that was coming. I set you up a treat, bro.
Yeah, you did.
What's it called?
I think, what was it about? Yeah, it's called Despite the Promises. Just roll the tape.
Despite the promises you made me, I never thought you'd be someone I could rely on, maybe. But I know some people never change. You said that you were only joking, but you took it way too far. I won't wait up to thank you. I recognize a failing star. Last time my life will fall apart. Farewell to the thoughts inside my head, 'cause the negative won't resonate in here if I don't farewell with the positive instead. If you hang around, then maybe I'll confess. So back to front, the number sequence never made much sense. I did my best to help you. Why retribution won't do? Stronger than the
sorry to break this up. I accidentally muted my mic for about 10 minutes of this interview, so I've tried to make the best of it that I can do. There's a couple of places where I've had to put these little interjections in, but basically we have a bit of a back and forth that's obviously missed out. I moved the conversation into getting Luke to tell us about his record label and how that came about, and how like the Superkaleider thing started to come about with him getting more into electronic music, and that's where we pick it up now. Please forgive me.
Yeah, as you know, like, we lived in Bristol, you lived there as well, and ended up sort of getting into the electro stuff quite a lot. And there was a guy I worked with who I'm still really good friends with, a guy called Jason King, who was doing similar sort of music to me, and we sort of thought it'd be really fun to go in together and start a little record label, make a website, you know, initially just to release our own music. So there was just something else to it rather than just we put out a thing. So it's on this record label, which we did. And then sort of that was quite fun, and we put a few little records out, and then we thought it'd be really fun to, you know, on the website, we didn't even ask for it, but to start with, people just started emailing and saying, oh, you know, I've got a demo, can I send you my demo? So we're like, okay, well, we don't really have any money and we can't really do anything. But then we sort of came up with an idea that thought, well, you know, I made a little bit of software that just essentially allowed people to upload demos, and we would look, you know, we could listen to them, rate them. It would basically it was pretty cool. It would sort of create a little web page for each upload. So for each artist, and like me and Jace could go through, listen to them. And then we found this guy called Roberto's a Zero, Italian guy. So we ended up he was like, oh, maybe I can sort of join the record label and help you guys with it and stuff, rather than just be like, oh, I'll just be an artist. He was like, maybe I can help you with it. So he sort of joined, and we ended up putting one of his records out and some singles and stuff. And then, you know, I think over the time, we probably put out about 8 to 10 records. Not that much, really. But I was just, in the end, I was getting about 20 demos a week, which I thought was quite a lot. Different people sending stuff in. I was trying to get back to everybody, but it was impossible. And, you know, now and again, I'd sort of help somebody out, but we weren't really able to help anybody. We just didn't have any money to do anything. And, you know, so what I did instead was sort of just try and help people out with, like, I'd master a couple of tracks that were good and be like, look, I'll just do a free little cleanup for you. And, you know, if you want us to release it, we can, or whatever. But it never really came to anything, but it was great fun to do. But it was so difficult. Like, you know, there was a few times we met people that were quite good, and we're like, oh, you know, maybe we could help you release something on the record label. And often kind of the conversation was like, oh, great, yeah, let's do that. Like, you know, what am I going to get paid? Is there an advance? It's like, we don't have any money. Like, we don't have any money. We will pay to have your stuff released, so you don't have to pay that. And that's about all we can do. We can't really pay for any marketing, but you can go off and get other people to do that. It's not an exclusive deal. We're just trying to help you get on the ladder, so to speak. But people's expectations would sometimes be like, well, I've been taught that when you get a record deal, it's like, this isn't really a record deal. We're just going to have a little agreement that says we'll release your stuff for you, we'll reclaim the money that it's cost us, and then you'll earn the rest of it. Like, so we're not going to make any profit off of you. We're just trying to help you. And it was quite difficult at times, because it was like, it wouldn't come to anything, because people sort of been taught, oh, when you do this, I should get an advance, and can you pay for my mastering? It's like, I'll do your mastering for free for you, no problem. So, I want this guy to do it. It's like, right, that's too expensive, and we don't have any money. And it was just, it kind of the same thing would happen again and again. But we did have a few people that sort of wanted help, but more often than not, again, it was like, you know, they might have one track that went quite well. I remember we had one track that came that was really good, and it was like, oh, this is good. And then we had the conversation with the guy, like, oh, so how have you made this? And it turns out that he's just like bought a loop library, put it all together. It was like, oh, that's why it sounds good then, because they've really good producers to put that together. So then he's like, well, I don't really feel comfortable releasing something that you haven't really made. You've assembled something, you know? Yeah. So it was, and that happened quite a lot. I was really surprised the amount of times with that kind of music people would go, yeah. And like, actually, there was a few times where it was like quite obvious. We'd hear the same samples in people's stuff, and it was like, oh, I've heard that one. It's like, just make your own stuff. I get it. There's a place for that, and But yeah, it was quite tricky. So in the end, it was too expensive in a way to do what we wanted to do. So we didn't have enough time, and I started my business by that point. And it was like, do you know what? It kind of quietly backed into the ether, and that was it for ESA. And then I didn't renew the domain, and that was it. And we used to get confused with the space agency, the European Space Agency, as well all the time. It was annoying. It's like they might have got there first, but whatever.
Right here, I'm saying to Luke that I agree with what he's saying about the record label, and that when we had our record label, you can't really please musicians. Like you'd give them free recording, we'd give them like free distribution, they'd keep 100% of the rights, would pay them for that as well. And they'd still be like, oh, when are you going to take us on tour? When are you going to do this for us, that for us? All the rest of those things. And it's like, we need to like have a space where the record label can do all this for you, but you need to work with us to do these other things. And that's the gist of what I was saying here. We'll get back into it. I hope I don't have to do this another time.
Well, I think the collective thing is where that comes in, and it's like, I guess, like with ESA Records, in hindsight, we should have sort of looked at what we did with Roberto and taken that, and been like, look, this is what this is. It's just a vehicle for you. So you can come in and use this vehicle how you want. It's just, if you want to release something on a record label, you can do that. You can use the name of this. I think there are people that do that sort of thing.
I think this is the last one, but basically all that happened here is I agreed with what he said. And then I said, I found the track that we collaborated on a couple of years ago. I found that track and we're about to play it. And that was the track. I've got something to admit here as well, Bondi.
What's that?
I just noticed that possibly no one's been able to hear me for the last 10 minutes, hopefully only 10 minutes. But you've done a lot of talking, so hopefully that's going to be enough.
Really?
Mistakes happen, things happen. Second episode in, I don't mind. But I'm saying that now because if it did happen, what I'll do is I'll cut out the silence and I'll just put you talking. And to anyone hearing, I'm sorry, that's how it goes. Anyway, so we're moving on. You didn't mention Superkaleider, but let's talk Superkaleider. What we'll do is I want to hear about your thinking behind that whole thing. And didn't you do some live stuff with that as well?
Sort of, not really. It was only really just sort of like I did a few mashup sort of DJ sets just in Ableton, but it was a bit weird probably.
Okay, so
to other people, I enjoyed myself, but
that's all that matters, dude. It's all that matters if you're enjoying what you're doing. And then I've got literally kind of like two other things that I want to ask you, and I think we're pretty good, to be fair. So let's hear about Superkaleider, because how would you start by defining what it is for me and other people listening?
Yeah, so it's just like it was the name I put on my electronica stuff. That's sort of like weird, dancey. I guess at the time a bit dubsteppy, maybe. I don't know if you'd really call it that or not. I honestly don't know what genre you'd put it. EDM. It's EDM. Like I just put that name on it, and I don't really know when I did that. It probably was in Bristol. I don't think I came up with it before then. But you could argue that my electronic stuff when I was younger has got the same sort of sound, even though I didn't have such good technology to make it with. But yeah, so I just started making all this stuff that's a bit glitchy and basically just for fun, just making this electronic dance music, and started getting into programming different types of synths, really got into Massive when that came out, and trying to, just I think the track that you might play.
When you say Massive, if you don't know, Massive is like a simple version, a synthesizer that...
Yeah, it's a wavetable synth. So at the time...
I'm just trying to say, like, for people that don't know what it is.
Yeah. It's a synth that you can make. At the time, it was really popular for making those sort of wobby, monster, growly sounds.
Wobby, yeah.
And that and FM8, which is like an FM synth. And I just got into that and sort of really got into the sort of glitch hop thing. Sort of like heavy hip hop, I guess, with sort of there's artists out there like Savant and stuff like that, and Wolfgang Gartner, that I really sort of got into that kind of thing. Basically just sonic overload, like lots of sounds crammed into a short space of time.
Yeah.
And I really got into doing that.
Just to interject one more time, we forgot to play the track that we were going to play to show you Superkaleider and what he does with that, under that brand, under that name. So this this track is called Neutrino Field. I hope you enjoy it. This is his electronic stuff. Neutrino Field, Superkaleider goes like this, and we'll pick up where we left off in a minute.
still enjoy doing that. I've probably been on a bit of a hiatus for the last 5 or 6 years from that, really, but started doing a bit again. My friend Jenny Bishop, who's a great musician, I did a remix for her like 10 years ago or more than that probably, and she's got a new track and she asked me to do a remix of that, so I've done that. I'd say a remix, you know, it's like a rewrite, you know.
Yeah.
Taking it and doing something totally different with it, and I've just finished that and sort of pretty happy with that. And finished that today. I've literally just finished it. Yeah.
Anyway.
She sent me over the proper studio vocals for that, which I've put on. Done some vocal chops out of that, and yeah, I'm really. It was really fun to do, and I've done another one, you know, alongside that because I've kind of been enjoying that, trying to learn a few new synths and techniques, and I've started deciding that I want to. I saw a really interesting clip from Jacob Collier the other day talking about sounds in your tracks.
Yeah,
and he said, bland in music. It's like bland. It's okay. You'll deliver it to someone and they'll hear it, and yeah, that's about it. You know, you're probably not going to bowl anyone over with bland, but that's fine. There's room for bland. But then he was like, but disgusting will divide a crowd.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what he says now, but it's brilliant. And he basically says, you know, that if you put that sound in your song that literally makes you grimace, like you smelled something bad.
Yeah.
Disgusting. You're going to have some people that don't get it and don't want it.
Yeah.
But then you're going to get some other people that pick it out for that.
It's like when we started adding those.
That really resonated with me.
Yeah. It's like when we added those, started going more leaning into like electronic elements at the end of SevereZero. It's like that divided people as well. They're like, stop doing that. Like, why are you doing that? And other people are like, this is the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's kind of, I always wanted that for Superkaleider. I always wanted to, I think I got a little bit stuck in, you know, because I was, I guess, still learning how to make sounds that I liked and that I've been hearing. I think I maybe got a little bit stuck in maybe, although some of the ideas might have been different, I think I got stuck in the making sounds that other people have already made or trying to make sounds that I've heard. And, you know, although I wasn't downloading patches, I'd make the patches myself, and I still do that. But you get stuck in that. You know, I think now I'm really trying to experiment. I've probably done the same thing on these other 2 tracks, to be honest, but I've tried really hard to think like, I'm just going to not have a preconception of what sound I'm trying to make here. You know, the sounds, I've really started getting into making sounds like the way I used to back when I was really young, which is sample something in and just stick an absolute shitload of effects on it and automate stuff and see what you can make a normal sound do. You're
really into like weird little, like off the beaten track sort of technology when it comes to music as well. I think that's worth mentioning. Like, I think you've always been that way because of the background that we spoke about earlier, is like you'll always try and find, you're not, like you say, you're not like downloading samples. At best, you'll try and make a sound that sounds like someone else's, what they've made, and you'll try and replicate something. But you always seem to take that off into the bushes. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, this is something we haven't spoke about. We should do. I was going to mention that you know, play with those little, I can't remember. You always show me these little things.
Stuff.
Yeah, dude. And like, I've had this idea to do that. And it's just messing sound up. Yeah, that.
Great.
So that, but then also the other day you mentioned to me, I'm thinking about making a VST plugin. So like plugins are things you use when you record music, like effects and things like that. Luke's a developer as well. That's what you do as your job now, right? So
that's my job. Yeah.
So you're kind of trying to blend those 2 things and make a, what makes you interested in that kind of side of things? Do you think? Is it just history or?
You know, it's just, I love producing music, so I still really do enjoy doing that. And, you know, I think sometimes one of the things is that there's loads of great techniques out there and they're not all simple, but they're not all mega complicated. But there's some things out there that I think, like, I'd like to make a plugin that maybe takes some of these more complicated concepts and brings it down into like 1 or 2 knobs on a plugin to make it a bit more accessible to other people who either don't know how to set that type of chain up or don't have the time, or I don't know, their computers they've not got the right plugins to do it or something, you know what I mean?
It could be a financial thing as well, because plugins aren't cheap that sound good. They're not cheap. So if you could like make 3 or 4 into one thing that's doing a specific chain, like
I quite like the idea of just like giving this stuff away for free to start with, just making something which is good and just giving it away for people to use, and hopefully you get some people that think it's crap, but you hopefully get some people that like it and use it, and it sort of ties those two little worlds together, you know, like developing software, which is my whole business, you know, and music. So it'd be quite nice to do something like that, but it takes all these things, they just take time and effort, and you know, it'd be quite nice to do that. I was thinking about, you know, doing some sort of slightly off-center compressor, because you know, you use compression a lot, but there's also like really creative compression, right?
Don't give too much away.
So I'm thinking about making something, but
yeah. So, mate, I think we've done a really good job here. Hopefully, you can hear me for the whole thing, but I want to touch on 2 things before you go, basically, before we wrap this up. I said to you before we started recording about, like, you're not really out of music because you're still writing, you're still putting stuff together, producing for people and stuff as well. But can you touch on, like, how that came about? Was it a decision that you're like, I'm going to do less of this? Or was it a gradual thing of just circumstance of, and now I haven't done music for a couple of years, and I kind of want to scratch that itch, so I'll release some acoustic stuff, because we haven't really spoken about the acoustic stuff too much, but obviously I've got a track that's going to come up, I'll play at the end when we say goodbye, but also you had all that lo-fi stuff that you've done with Tom or Byte Review, and is that with Byte Review, or is that with Kuroku, is it?
Kuroku Studio,
with him and Rage. And also, dude, to round that question out, I guess, also, like, what do you see in the future musically for Luke Bond?
So on the acoustic thing, just, I guess, I've always done acoustic, you know, just it's always been a part of my, even when we were doing SevereZero, right, I'd be putting together little acoustic things here and there. And we even did that little acoustic stuff, which was great, didn't it? When we did the SevereZero acoustic, it was lovely.
And Hideout, the Hideout is a really good SevereZero track. Started on acoustic. Check that out if you check out SevereZero. So I guess it's a bit of both, bit of circumstance, and you know, the business started growing and stuff, and I had less time. And I think just less inclination to, I'm not really in a place in my life where I want to go out and play live gigs. I'm not really that interested in that anymore. And although I still enjoy... Do you know why? I don't know. I just like my privacy, I think, now. And I think also I enjoy the writing the music and recording the music. Don't so much enjoy the stress of having to put it together and go out and play it. Yeah. You know, and sing it and whatever. And I guess ultimately... I would say now I've got a better relationship with music than I've probably ever had. Not that I, you know, looking back saying I didn't enjoy things, I did enjoy things, but I think I'm not like having to hang my hat on anything and say, all right, I'm writing this for people to like it. I'm writing it for me to like it. Like, I am writing music that I like, and that feels really nice to do that. Not really worrying, if I want to share it with some people I will, if I don't want to, it doesn't really matter. I'm not there thinking like, why have I made this? It's like, I've made it because I enjoy doing that, and I'll listen to it in the car, because it's like, I make music I want to listen to. There's a part of me that's like, oh, you know, music's for sharing, and it is, and I probably will share it with my friends, and potentially, you know, maybe if I can be bothered and I get convinced enough by some of my, you know, friends, probably you as well, maybe I'll get it up on Apple or something. Maybe not, but I don't know. And I think the live thing, it's like, I don't have that urge to go and do that. Maybe at some point I will, and you know,
I might go and my dad does these jam nights. I might go and jam with him and do that, and that would be great.
Yeah, you've played bass for me a couple of times in Boycott.
Play bass for you, yeah, and you know, that was great fun, and I'm really glad that I did that. And
it's definitely less pressure, though, right?
Well, you say that. You gave me like 3 weeks to learn everything. And then you were like, oh, you're doing the backing vocals as well, right?
Because I know you can deal with it. Right. Yeah, but Bondi, tell them what you do with the backing vocals.
What do I do with it?
Just learn like the shapes.
Oh, yeah. If I can't tell what you're singing, I'll just learn the sounds and just sing the sounds.
And it works.
I can't always work out what all your lyrics are. I'm not a genius.
No. I mumble when I talk. When I sing, it's even worse.
The funny thing is, though, because we were so limited on that first one, we were so limited for time. I remember like actually being about 3 gigs in before I thought about asking you, dude, what did you actually sing there? Because I don't know. Yeah. No, but that was fun. And, you know, I played guitar for you once as well, didn't I? That was quite fun.
Yeah.
But no, I think, I'm just in a place where I guess, I don't know, I don't have that. I wouldn't say I don't have the same spark for it, because I still really do. I've really enjoyed, you know, the lo-fi stuff. I've done 3 hours, 45 minutes of that in the last year. It's the most music I've ever written.
Where can people find that, dude?
Yeah, so if you YouTube it, it's just Kuroku Studio. And Kuroku Radio is the actual channel for that, but the Kuroku Studio is what they do as their sort of product. So Tom and Rach came to me and said, look, can you write some lo-fi? It's under the Kuroku Studio badge. We're going to call it Kuroku Radio. So I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds really fun. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself in for, I suppose. Started sort of putting together some music, did 45 minutes of sort of Animal Crossing style stuff.
Nice.
Put that out. So yeah, if you YouTube it, just do the Kuroku Radio.
The reason why I say that,
4 albums come up,
is because I'm at the point with YouTube at the moment, like I've had to like verify my identity. I'm still waiting for it because I can't put links in the description. Right. So I'm trying to put them in there. But me.
I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. I literally just do the music and hand it over to Tom and Rach, and they do all the clever stuff, which is perfect for me. Yeah. You know,
and dude, that's something I was going to say about your relationship with music now, is that it's not your relationship with music. It's like your relationship with, I just don't fancy doing the live stuff, but I have to write. Yeah. I have to be music, like sonically creative. I have to be, but I don't need to go out and prove myself to people and do it live situation or whatever.
Do you know what? This might sound a bit weird, but I've had this really weird conversation with myself about, like I was saying to Tom and Rach, like it's great what they're doing, because I don't need to deal with, sounds really weird, I don't have to deal with people at all. I don't have to deal with any recognition. I don't really need it. I just enjoyed making it, and I'm glad that they've given me that outlet to do that. And, you know, I've done the 4 albums and they're all a bit different, and I'm probably going to do another one soon. But I'm not even too worried if anyone ever knew it was me that made it. So I've made it, people are enjoying it. That's great. And, you know, it's a nice thing to have.
It's almost in the realms of you've made it for yourself, isn't it? Because you've kind of made it and gone, yeah, that was fun. And they've gone...
Well, it has been a big outlet for me.
Yeah.
You know, challenging couple of years, and, you know, in one way or another, and although everything's, you know, put life in it, it's part of life, but you know, it's been a really good outlet. Music is a good outlet for stuff, isn't it?
For life. Yeah 100%, dude. So what do you think the future holds? And if people can I don't suppose you want people to find you, do you?
I don't know. I don't have anything up online really other than that stuff at the moment. There's some stuff on YouTube, but there's all the stuff came off of Apple because I just stopped paying for it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Like I kind of thought it was up there because I've got a lot of your catalog on my iTunes, but I didn't see that it wasn't on the music. But
it's a weird one.
What does the future hold for you musically? That's it.
Well, I guess I'm going to probably keep doing some of this lo-fi stuff. I'm sure at some point I'll do some more acoustic stuff, but I've got this bit of trouble with my voice at the moment, and it's been going on for a few years, and I can't sing like I used to, like physically can't do it at the moment. So can be a bit depressing at times, like especially when, I think I was saying to you a few weeks back, you don't realise how often you just sing around the house. And even when I'm singing around the house, singing in tune and is still important to me.
Yeah.
And singing, singing properly is still important. And when you can't do it the way you want to, it can get you down a bit, but not going to dwell on that. And
because some of your identity is tied up into being able to sing. I think if you've sung, I reckon if you sung for people, then you can't help but have some of your internal identity tied up in your singing voice.
Interesting. You're probably right. Yeah. Well, it was always important to both of us, wasn't it? Is that I still get wound up when I hear a singer who doesn't sing the way they talk. It's like, that's not your voice. That's some persona you've made. And I get it. That's part of the music industry. People do that. But I love it when I hear someone talk and then they sing and you're like, yeah. That's you. That's how you talk. I love that. It's so natural and brilliant.
To be fair, I do a bit of both, if I'm honest.
I do. It's part of the industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just prefer it when I hear someone who is, and there's times, I get it wrong where you hear someone, you're like, oh, that's put on. And then you hear them talking like, no, it's not. They literally have that sound.
Yeah.
It's like, fair play, I got that wrong.
It's like, why is he singing so deep in his throat? He doesn't talk like that. And you hear him talking oh my God.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll keep doing, maybe I'll do a Superkaleider album. I had this really good idea about doing some sort of crazy intro, like getting some good voice actors in and doing because the first album I did has got sort of like a bit of a storyline. It's at the start. It was really fun to make. Thought maybe doing something like that would be fun. Maybe I'll do some more acoustic at some point. I've had this idea of maybe trying to do something really weird and heavy and electronic as well, like guitars and...
Is that with the setup you told me about where you're splitting the bass?
Yeah.
Kind of like not Raw Blood style, but kind of like Raw Blood style.
Yeah, sort of that sort of thing, but the bass is a guitar and a bass at the same time, but also, splicing that together with, glitchy electronic drums and other sounds. I don't really know.
That's just you being in, like I was saying earlier, dude. You being into you're in the bushes, mate. You're off somewhere. You're in the scrub of music, trying to make these things up.
Yeah. Well, this is the other thing, dude. It's like, I'm not really sure why anyone would be interested in listening to what I have to say about music, other than people that know me, who might just be interested in hearing, oh, that was happening at that time, or oh, I didn't know you did that. But I think for other people out there who've never heard of me before, I can't really, my story isn't really going to, there might be a few takeaways of things that people have got in common, but I don't really know if I've got anything to say that, my music might be a bit fringe, right? The Superkaleider stuff, I enjoy it, but I think a lot of people just think it's noise.
Yeah.
If you listen to Savant, some of it is absolutely bonkers. And I love that, but some people might think, I remember sending maybe you and Frank a track. It was like a real weird genre bender that had like heavy stuff, electronic stuff. And I can't remember if it was you or Frank that went, what the fuck have you sent me? What have I just heard? And it's like, but there's something in there that I love that. I love the fact that there's little nuggets within those things. But I don't know. It's a weird one.
The thing is, dude, like, you're brilliant at what you do within music, like whatever aspect of music that is. And I think it's a shame that you don't write stuff to share anymore, or you're not really doing that anymore. I think that's a shame. And I hope that changes in the future. But I think the conversation that we've had today, the reason why it's interesting to people listening to this is because it's exactly what this podcast is supposed to be about. It's talking to people about the intricacies and experiences of the music industry at whatever level it has been to. There's no like judgment, but just being real about it. So like, it's almost perfect that, we're talking about things that we don't like about touring, how to keep, like, even just getting a cold before tour, how much that impacts you. These things are interesting to people that are interested to hear about music and musicians and like what it's like to be a musician. You're thinking about it, I feel, like from a musician's perspective, and go, well, that isn't just what everyone goes through. But the perspective that we've offered today, and like, the different parts of our musical background and the tracks we've played, all the rest of that kind of stuff, stories from tour, all the rest of it is interesting to people. And like, mate, first episode, 21 in the country, like
That's
sorry,
pretty good.
28th in the country. So you
Well,
know,
that's really
people
great,
are
dude.
listening. So yeah, don't be so down on yourself. You're not a boring person to talk to, and especially when it comes to music.
Well, thank you, dude.
Too hard on yourself.
Hopefully, yeah. Well, you know, I think it's just it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like thinking about, like, you know, being a musician more often than at the start. Like when you first going out to do it, you're like, I want to get a record label. I want to release records. I want to play in front of loads of people and do all this. But the transition from there to where I am now is that I just want to write music because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if I share it with people and they enjoy it, that's great. And if they don't, or don't even listen, like me and you used to say this, right? You put a song out for free, and getting people to click play, it's free. It's really hard. So like I've abstracted myself away from that completely now. It's like, do you know what? It doesn't even matter. I'm going to send it to my mates who I know would want to listen to it.
Yeah.
And that's all really, you know, in a way, I'm just writing it for those very few people, if anything, myself and those few people. It's like, I'm going to really enjoy it, and I'll ping it to people that might like it. And then I'm not too worried if anybody else ever hears it or likes it. But like you said, music is for sharing. I don't know.
It's a complicated one,
isn't it?
but like it's freeing to be able to do what you're doing. And I've tried to walk the line in between. That's why I have the Patreon. And this is because like I don't have to worry so much about that. Although I still do. I don't beat myself up and get like anxious about it anymore. Like it's just like, man, you know my kind of self-belief structure or whatever, but like writing music on my own to then put out and hopefully lots of people are going to like it, man, that would play with my head. And it did for a couple of years when I came back. Started the Patreon and that completely went away. It's like, well, I'm writing for Patreon now. And then every so often we'll get together and ask what track out of these 3 tracks, for example, should go out. They choose. We put a track out. Like the next one's out on the 8th of March. Just getting it in there. Nice. I'm going to play it at the end of this episode.
Smooth.
And yeah, it's just freeing because the music industry is changing, and it's changing into something that is less and less about the music. So, mate, I think unless you've got anything to add or anything that you think that I've missed out, I think that's a good place to end this episode. I think we're on an hour and a half now. So if you want to add anything...
I was just going to say, it's just felt a bit weird just talking about myself for such a long time. Like, my instinct is to keep asking you questions about you, but...
It's not about me, though.
It's a weird thing, you know? But so I feel a bit weird that I've just sat and talked about myself for a little while. It feels a bit like self-gratuitous, do you know what I mean? It's like...
It doesn't come across like that, dude.
I've enjoyed...
It's interesting.
It's been nice talking to you, and like you said, I don't know if there's... I can't think of anything in there that you probably didn't know about me, which is nice, really. It's a nice thing of our friendship that I think over the years, you know, it's the thing about being on tour, right? You fill the time by talking about each other in your past and stuff, build your friendships. Yeah, maybe maybe I'd never shared the Commodore 64 overlay keyboard with you before, but maybe I did, because we must have talked about that when I recorded the Commodore in the studio.
Although, to be fair, like I
bought a cartridge for that. Do you remember? Do you not remember that? I bought a special cartridge. Do you not remember? No,
I don't remember.
Anyway,
dude. So I got to say thank you for being here. We'll do this again sometime. Like we'll do it again. And
thank you for having me.
I would like you. It's been a pleasure. I would like you to introduce. They're both good tracks, dude. I was going to say either Cycles or Declarations. You pick.
I think my instinct was to go for Cycles, but I think we're going to have to go for Declarations. It's just, I love that one.
Yeah, it's great. Okay. Thank you, Luke Bond of Superkaleider, Luke Bond and SevereZero fame. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks with a new guest and a new conversation. And this is Declarations by Luke Bond. And then we'll hit the outro. So I'll see you in a yellow shirt in a minute.
lighting of candles
Stop that
to keep us safe. Can we illuminate the place that the darkness escapes? Can we cross enough bridges to not be alone? We follow the river until it finally gets us back home. So lead the way, I'm following you, and I'll make sure that we get all the way through this declaration of all we want to be, living in the moments that set each other free. No time for past events or future frailties, but for now, let's remember all these things. Like if you stole it, then give it back. If you told a lie, you've always got time to retract. Did you do something wrong, or did you just make a mistake? If you're looking for love, you know it won't come to you on a plate. So lead the way, I'm following you, and I'll make sure that we get all the way through this declaration of all we want to be, living in the moments that set each other free. No time for past events or future frailties, but for now, let's remember all these things, all these declarations. Can we light enough candles to keep us safe? Can we illuminate the place where the darkness escapes?
There you have it, the conversation I haven't had yet. Full disclosure, full transparency, I'm recording this just after I recorded the intro. That's how things work around here. I don't try and cover things up. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure it's insightful and a fun time talking to Luke. I've decided that I'm going to have embedded some tracks during the conversation as well. So hopefully that worked out fine. That'll be the first time that I've tried to do that on the fly. And something that I didn't mention in the intro that I wanted to mention is, obviously you've been looking at my ugly mug the whole episode. It's just because Luke said to me, you know, he's not like super into having like his face and all the rest of that kind of stuff over the internet anymore. So asked me if I didn't record his side of the video feed. So if you're on YouTube, then that's the reason why you've been looking at my face. If you're listening, obviously you wouldn't tell a difference. But yeah, I said at the beginning that I had a new One Man Boycott track out, and I'm going to play it for you now. It's called Self-Help Part 2, because I had a track called Self-Help Puncher when I first started One Man Boycott. But yeah, this is the track. We're on tour in a couple of weeks in the UK, so check that out if you like what I do. This is Self-Help, short and sweet. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Fixing myself, focus on my mental health. I need to breathe a little easier lately. I'll keep it hidden in my head, so you can't really know how much I kinda hate you. It's real in my skin and in every indecision. I used to fucking like you. hide when there's nowhere to hide. Empathy is so overrated. When you realize there was never any need to hide, you're looking all kinds of jaded. I'm reckless, abandoned, I feel like an addict with something to live for. So why do I feel this way? I'm callous, I hate it, I love it, but why am I like this? I'm fixing myself, focused on my mental health. I need to breathe a little easier lately. I can't